The chandeliers dripped with golden light, scattering reflections across crystal goblets and the polished marble floor. I stood at the edge of the ballroom, clutching a glass I hadn't sipped from, pretending I belonged in a world that had already spat me out. The music swelled, violins weeping over the laughter of men who had bled my family dry. This wasn't a party. It was a funeral masquerading as a celebration, and the man they toasted was the one who had buried my name. The Valerios had reduced the Rossis to ashes. My father's empire, our empire, was gone. Men once loyal to us had bent the knee to another king, and women who had smiled at my mother now turned their heads when they saw me. A Rossi was nothing more than a cautionary tale, a reminder of how quickly power crumbled when the wrong enemy was made, and Dante Valerio was the wrong enemy. He stood in the center of the room, dark suit sharp enough to cut, shoulders broad, presence heavy enough to tilt the air. People didn't simply look at him. They moved for him, bent for him, laughed too loudly at his cruel jokes. Even the older dons, men who had clawed their way through blood and bullets, deferred to him as if he were something more than human. I hated him. I hated the way his dark hair caught the light, hated the sculpted line of his jaw, hated that he looked like the devil and a saint carved into one body. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the urge to wrap them around the crystal flute and shatter it in his face. "Don't stare too long," my cousin whispered, touching my arm. She was pale, nervous, barely keeping herself together. "He'll notice." "I want him to notice," and I said, my voice low, sharp. Her eyes widened, and she shook her head, the sequins on her dress catching the light. "Isabella, please. You can't start anything here." I smiled, but it was the kind of smile that burned holes in paper. "Watch me." I felt it before I saw it, the weight of his gaze. Heat crawling up the back of my neck. My skin prickled as though fire had touched it, and when I turned, he was already watching me. Dante Valerio. Our eyes locked across the crowd. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. His stare was merciless, a midnight storm, full of cold amusement and something darker. He looked at me the way a wolf studies a rabbit, not because it's hungry, but because it enjoys the way the rabbit trembles. Then he moved. The crowd parted as though pulled by invisible strings. Every step he took toward me was deliberate, slow, meant to remind me of who he was. My cousin shrank behind me, but I held my ground. My pulse was wild, my throat dry, but my chin lifted. If I bowed, if I flinched, I might as well carve Rossi as dead into my own skin. He stopped inches away, close enough that I could smell him. Not just cologne, but smoke, leather, and danger itself. "Well, well," Dante drawled, his voice like velvet wrapped around a blade. "If it isn't the last Rossi." The words stung, venom laced in silk. "I didn't realize the Valerios were in the habit of inviting ghosts," I said, forcing steel into my voice. His lips curved into a slow, mocking smile. "Ghost?" "No, Isabella. You're very much alive. For now." A ripple of laughter ran through the crowd behind him, men and women eager to echo whatever sound he made. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face smooth, my smile sharp. "Strange," I said lightly, tilting my head. I thought men who destroyed women's families usually had the decency to look ashamed. The laughter died. The music faltered. For the first time, his mask cracked. His eyes narrowed, and the air grew heavy, as though the chandeliers themselves were holding their breath. He leaned in, lips dangerously close to my ear. His voice was low enough for only me to hear. "Careful, little Rossi. The last person who spoke to me like that isn't alive to regret it." My heart thundered. My knees begged me to bend, but I didn't move. "I'm not them," I whispered back. For a long moment he just stared, those cold eyes sweeping over my face, looking for weakness. Then, slowly, he straightened. With the elegance of a predator, Dante raised his glass. His voice boomed across the hall. A toast to Isabella Rossi, proof that even ashes can still smolder. The laughter was cruel, slicing into me like knives. I stood still, burning under every gaze, but inside, my fury clawed at the cage of my ribs. I smiled, sugar-laced with poison. Careful, Dante. Play too close to fire, and even kings burn. For a fraction of a second, his jaw ticked, his composure wavered. It wasn't victory, not really, but it was something. When the crowd dispersed, I escaped to the balcony, my breath sharp in my lungs. The night air bit at my skin, cold against the heat simmering in my chest. Below, the city glittered, but it felt like a stage set, painted lights hiding rot. I gripped the railing until my knuckles whitened. "Father," I whispered, throat tight. "I swear to you, I'll make him pay." A voice slid through the darkness, smooth and mocking. "You'll make me pay, Bella?" My blood iced. I turned, and there he was. Dante leaned against the doorway, framed by shadows, as though the night itself bent to him. "Stay away from me," I snapped. He stepped forward, slow, deliberate. "Oh, Isabella, you don't get to tell me what to do. Not in my city, not in my world." "I'm not afraid of you," I lied. His smirk deepened. "You should be." He came closer, each step tightening the noose around my lungs. "One day, Isabella, you'll kneel, and when you do, I'll make sure you never forget who broke you." I slapped his hand away when it lifted, close to my face. My voice shook, but the words didn't. "The only thing you'll ever break is yourself." For a moment we stood locked in silence, fire sparking in the space between us. His eyes burned into me, his lips curled into a smile that promised war, and I smiled back, daring him. Because I would burn him, or he would burn me. But either way, neither of us would walk away unscathed.